If you are thinking about moving to another state for retirement, the move can absolutely improve your lifestyle, but the forgotten costs can also wreck a budget if you only compare rent and taxes. We will walk through the most commonly missed expenses in 4 areas: taxes, healthcare, housing, and transportation, so you can build a realistic moving budget before you commit. Disclaimer: this is an educational video only. I'm not a financial advisor, not a CPA, and not a healthcare professional. This is not personalized advice. Use it as general information and verify details for your situation. Imagine 2 retirees who both move to the same low-cost state. One feels like they got a fresh start. The other feels like they stepped into a money trap. The difference usually is not intelligence. It is preparation. Because moving is one of those life events where the big costs are obvious, truck boxes, deposits, but the expensive stuff hides in the fine print. Part your taxes, insurance changes, medical networks, registration fees, and the 1,000 little starting over purchases that happen after the move. So in this video, I'm going to give you a simple framework. You are not just moving your stuff. You're moving your entire financial system, your taxes, your healthcare setup, your housing risk, and your transportation costs. Let us start with the first bucket people underestimate: taxes. A lot of people think moving is just, does this state have income tax or not? But real life is messier. If you move mid-year, you may deal with part-year residency returns, 2 state paperwork, and withholding that does not match your final residency status. Even if you love paperwork, this can create surprise bills or delays. Another overlooked area is how states tax retirement income. Some states treat pensions differently. Some treat Social Security differently. Some have different rules for deductions and credits. If you are moving for tax reasons, you want to compare the full picture, because sometimes a no-income tax state makes up the difference in sales tax, property tax, or fees. And do not forget property taxes. People move thinking, my house will be cheaper. And then they discover the annual property tax bill is higher than expected, or the assessment jumps after purchase, or there are local levies that were not obvious in the listing. Now let us talk about the tax trap that shows up for a lot of retirees: timing. If you're taking withdrawals from retirement accounts, selling investments, or cashing out something big, the year you do it matters. And if you are at the age where required minimum distributions apply, those withdrawals can add complexity. Under current rules, the RMD starting age is 73, and the increase to 75 is scheduled for 2033. I'm not telling you what to do. This is not advice, but I am saying this. A move is a good time to ask, will I have one-time income this year? Because one-time income plus a residency change can turn a simple year into a complicated year. Okay, second bucket, healthcare, and this is the one that can change your quality of life the fastest. When people say, I am moving to a cheaper state, they usually mean housing. But healthcare is not priced the same everywhere, and access is not equal everywhere. You can move to a beautiful place and then realize the nearest specialist is 2 hours away, or the best hospital system is not in your plan's network, or appointments take forever. If you are on Medicare, your choices may shift after you move. Provider networks can change, plan availability can change. And even if you keep the same general type of coverage, the practical question becomes, can I still see the doctors I want to see, and what will I pay out of pocket? This is where it helps to remember that healthcare has 2 types of costs: steady and lumpy. Steady costs are premiums, monthly bills that raise your baseline. Lumpy costs are deductibles and out-of-pocket expenses, costs that hit unevenly and can mess up cash flow. For context, in 2026, the standard Medicare Part B premium is $202.90 per month, and the annual Part B deductible is $283. Even if those numbers are not the only costs you pay, it is a reminder that healthcare has fixed baseline components you must plan around. When you move, do not just ask, is healthcare cheaper? Ask 3 questions. Do I have access to the providers I need? Do my prescriptions stay affordable under the new plan options? And can I handle the out-of-pocket pattern without stress? And here's a reality people do not like to say out loud. If you have chronic conditions, continuity matters. A move can mean new doctors, new paperwork, new prior authorizations, and months of frustration. That friction has a cost, even if it does not show up as a line item. Third bucket, housing, where the forgotten costs are constant. The listing price is not the cost of living there. And the cost of living there includes insurance, utilities, maintenance, and local realities like heat, humidity, storms, and property risk. One of the most common nuispas surprise hunt expenses is homeowner ES insurance, especially in regions where premiums have changed dramatically in recent years. Even renters can get hit by higher renters insurance in certain areas. Utilities can also shock people. A smaller home can still cost more to cool if the climate is hotter or if electricity rates are higher. Some areas have high water bills, high trash fees, or extra city charges. And if you're buying, you may face HOA fees, special assessments, or rules that force you into certain maintenance costs. Then there are the moving and settling costs that do not feel like real expenses because they are spread out. Things like changing locks, minor repairs, curtains and blinds, new furniture that fits the space, storage, replacing pantry items, setting up internet, buying small tools you gave away years ago, and paying deposits for utilities. Here is a simple truth. Every move creates rebuild spending. Even if you do it cheap, it rarely is zero. Now, let us talk about the emotional housing trap. You move and think, this is my retirement dream, so you renovate immediately. Renovations can be wonderful, but they can also turn a stable budget into a monthly stress machine. A safer approach is to live there through one full season first. See the heat, the cold, the storms, the neighborhood, the noise. Then decide what upgrades truly matter. Fourth bucket, transportation, because states treat cars very differently. People forget the administrative costs of moving a vehicle. Depending on where you go, you may face title transfer fees, registration fees, new plates, inspections, emissions tests, and local taxes. And if you are moving from a walkable area to a car-dependent area, your entire lifestyle cost changes. More fuel, more maintenance, more insurance, more wear and tear. Car insurance is a big one. Premiums vary by state, by zip code, by traffic patterns, theft rates, weather risk, and even repair costs in the area. A move can raise your insurance cost even if your car did not change. And do not ignore friction costs, toll roads, parking fees, longer distances to medical care, and higher repair costs in some regions can quietly add hundreds per month to your baseline. So now that you have heard the 4 buckets, let me give you a simple planning tool you can use to avoid getting surprised. I call it the 2-year move budget. Most people budget for the move itself, month 1. Smart retirees budget for the move plus the first year of adjustments, because the first year is when you discover what you forgot. Here is how you do it in plain language. You build 2 numbers, your moving cost total and your new monthly baseline. Your moving cost total includes movers or truck, travel, temporary housing if needed, deposits, initial setup purchases, and a buffer for the first 3 months of surprises. Your new monthly baseline includes housing payment, property taxes or rent, insurance, utilities, healthcare premiums, typical medical out-of-pocket, groceries, transportation, and a maintenance line even if you rent. Once you have that baseline, ask one question. If my income stayed exactly the same, would I feel stable in this new state? If the answer is no, the move might still be possible, but you need a different housing choice, a different neighborhood, a different timeline, or a bigger buffer. Now let me address the most dangerous trap, moving for a single reason. Some people move for taxes only, some move for weather only, some move to be near family only. None of those reasons are wrong. But if you optimize one dimension and ignore the other 3 buckets, you can end up worse off. A tax win can be erased by insurance. A cheap house can be erased by healthcare access. A great climate can be erased by transportation dependence. The goal is balance, acceptable taxes, workable healthcare, stable housing costs, and predictable transportation. Here is a quick example that illustrates the point. Imagine you save a couple $100 a month on housing, but your car insurance rises, your utility costs rise, and you need 2 extra medical trips per month because providers are farther away. Your budget can end up tighter even though the home price looked cheaper. That is why retirees who love their move usually say the same thing. We planned for reality, not for the brochure. Before we wrap up, I want to give you a calm checklist you can run before you commit to a state. First, run a tax year check. Will you be a part-year resident anywhere, and will you have any one-time income events this year? Second, run a healthcare access check. Can you keep your doctors? Can you access specialists, and how long are typical appointment waits? Third, run a housing risk check. What are insurance costs, property taxes, HOA fees, and seasonal utility patterns? Fourth, run a transportation reality check. Do you need 1 car or 2? What is typical insurance in that zip code? And what are the annual fees to register and maintain the vehicle? And finally, run a life friction check. How far are grocery stores, pharmacies, hospitals, and the places you will actually go every week? If you do those 5 checks, you will be ahead of most people, and you will dramatically reduce the moving regret risk. If you want, comment the state you're considering, and the biggest reason for your move, taxes, healthcare, family, or cost of housing, and I can make a follow-up video with state-by-state questions you should ask without giving personal advice. Final reminder, this is an educational YouTube video, and it is not personalized guidance, not financial advice, and not medical or tax advice.